On to the next one.
Yep, you've lost count, right? You're not giving them numbers.
This is number 5.
Is it? Let's see. Okay.
3,
Wait, I need to think.
Bruh.
Joking.
3, 2, 1.
Hey guys, welcome to our YouTube channel, and my name is Belinda, and this is.
Ahoy, I'm Rafaro.
And together we are the Leogas, and on this channel we talk about everything life, relationships, and just general life learnings. So if that's something you're interested in, please do subscribe to our channel.
Let's get into it.
Yep.
And first question, let's open up.
Should you have access to your partner's phone?
Okay, 3, 2,
Wait, I need to think. I'm joking. Okay, yes.
1, go.
Okay. Would you care to explain why you said yes?
I say yes because I think it's a thing of transparency. So in our marriage, I'll not say relationship. I guess
Still a
technically it is a relationship.
Yeah.
So in our relationship, we've always worked on the principles of honesty, openness, and transparency. And I think having access to each other's phones is part of that transparency element to it. Because I remember someone defined transparency and honesty as two different things. Honesty is me telling you the truth. Transparency is you having access to it at any point.
Fact.
So I think it's important just in terms of a relationship to make sure that you have that as a foundation, because then it allows trust to be built as well. Because if you have the ability to look at my phone whenever you want, or you want to pick up my phone, go through my messages or whatever the case is, because that day you're feeling insecure. No, I'm checking. But just in the event that like a message pops in on my phone, you have the ability to open it and read it out loud and be like, oh, okay, someone said such and such. And I think it's important because also it guards you as a man as well from anything that could creep into your phone. I understand that there's ways you can hide things, there's ways you can make sure there's no notifications from certain applications and stuff, but it makes it a lot harder when you have to think about going through all those processes just to go around certain conversations that shouldn't be seen by your partner. That's just my opinion.
I definitely do agree with what you said, babe. And just to add on to that, yes, you should have access to your partner's phone. Why? Because it does protect the marriage or the relationship, like you said. Because even in the Bible, it talks about that the devil is always lurking around looking for someone to devour. So when your partner has got access to your phone, like there's just transparency, like my husband was explaining, there's a difference between transparency and honesty. So if there's transparency, and given the verse that I spoke about, I don't remember which verse, that talks about the devil always lurking around, but you safeguard the relationship. It's not that you don't trust your person and you just want to be snooping on their phone. No, it's just safeguarding the relationship. I feel that it safeguards the relationship, and also you don't want to create doubt in your partner. Because imagine if your partner says, you're not allowed to touch my phone, you start to question, like, what is in that phone? That's when you start snooping.
I thought you're doing it from the head. Well,
This is Hub's phone, by the way.
okay, question number 2.
Should you still spend time with your single friends?
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, we agree.
Elaborate. Please expand on that.
I would say yes. I did say yes. Why? Because nothing has really changed from the time when you were single and to the time you step into a union. It's just that now you're doing life with someone else, with someone closely. So if you find that when you get married, you feel the need to dispose of your friends, if I can say, for lack of a better phrase, it means that they were not the right friends in the first place. The fact that you're questioning if you want your friends to be around your family, to be around your spouse, it means that there was an issue with the friendship from the word go. That's what I think personally, because it's not many times in life when you go through the same season with your friends that you get married and then your friend gets married. It doesn't work like that. So just because you're going through different seasons at different times doesn't mean that, oh, I'm married now, I cannot play with you. But if you find that you get married and you have to do that, it means that the foundation of the marriage was not solid, of the
Friendship.
friendship, sorry, of the friendship was not solid. It wasn't a good friendship. You guys were not holding each other accountable, I would say.
Yeah, I said yes because for
Mm-hmm.
the main reason, well, one of the reasons you highlighted, which was the fact that you go through different seasons. And something I think which you've also alluded to in your answer as well, which I think is very important, is understanding the foundation of which you've built your friendships on. And therefore, I don't see the need for you to purge people once you get married or have to reassess or reevaluate the friendships that you have. Um, an example being me and one of my closest friends. They
Mm-hmm.
got married before I did, and it didn't affect our friendship too much. Obviously, yes, there are now new boundaries that are in place because they have a partner who they have to put first. Unlike before, it was us kind
It
of thing.
was
Is
you first.
yeah, in our bromance. But now they have a partner that they have to put first,
Yeah.
and I respect that and I understand that because
Mm-hmm.
again, we share the same values, share the same beliefs, and also religious view of marriage. So it helps massively in that regard. And also, just in the season that we were apart, it was my single friends that were actually keeping me entertained the most. Because sometimes I think they had the most entertaining stories, and you could look at it and reflect on it and be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
sir, I think we need to have a sit down and a conversation about that because
Mm-hmm.
in marriage that's not going to work." So it
Yeah.
helps because again, you get to guide your friends from being a step ahead, and I think that's what the Bible teaches us to be able to love one another and be able to help each other through the seasons because iron sharpens iron. And I don't think it's possible for people to always be in the same season at all the time, not at all times, but all the time. So it's important to keep those single friends
Mm-hmm.
and just give them insights into marriage. And then also, you have someone who's also more available because that's the other thing about single friends. They are a little bit more available than the
The
married
married
friends.
friends,
Yeah,
yeah.
especially before they have families. Once you have a family, it then becomes even more complicated.
Okay, this is an interesting one.
Okay, go for it.
Should you share your marital issues with your friends or family? Hmm.
Three,
Wait. I need to think.
two, one.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Controversial. I did not expect that.
What did you think I was gonna say?
No. To be fair, my answer is
Yes. I wish I had a maybe,
and
to be
no.
honest.
So I would this would actually be
So
my answer.
yes and no.
Yeah, my answer is yes and no.
Okay. I think your answer is gonna be more interesting.
No,
Please.
let's hear your maybe.
Okay, so mine is maybe. No, I think it's yes, but yes with boundaries. So, why I say yes, you should share your marital issues or problems with family or friends. Uh, the Bible talks about getting wise counsel. So, you can share with your friends and family. How will you get that counsel if you don't share with anyone? And in the sharing, I think it's not every petty or minor issue that you have to run to your friend, you have to run to your family to seek advice. Sometimes you just have to sit down and iron things out with your partner. But when you see that you guys have reached a dead end, then maybe you can. Then, yes, you can include friends or family. And in the inclusion of friends and family, I think everyone who's got friends, you know that my friend is good with this, my friend is good with that. So you approach the friends that you know has got wisdom, because your friends are also humans. They've got their strengths, they've got their weaknesses. So you can consult a friend who's wise in the area that you need advice in. So hence why I would say yes, you can tell your friends and family, but have boundaries. Not everything, guys. Yeah.
I guess my reason of yes and no is
Mm-hmm.
based upon similar principles, in
Okay.
the sense that yes, because I believe it is important to have um, the ability to rely on people external to the marriage itself,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes you only see things from your view, and sometimes it takes someone who understands you well enough to understand that you're not seeing things from your wife's perspective,
Mm-hmm.
to tell you the truth and also to tell you the situation for what it is, because they have the ability to tell you the truth. Especially when it comes to family, they have the ability to tell you things that can hurt you, but you accept
Yeah.
them because they're family.
Correct.
Or if it's close friends, they have the ability to tell you the truth that might be hurtful, but you will accept it because it's
Mm-hmm.
coming from a person who's speaking from a place of love. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
not every family member speaks from a place of love, and not every friend speaks from a place of love. But if you are rooted in the same principles and guided by the same values, then it should come from a place of love. And then the no element is because I don't think they should know the every aspect of your relationship. Or if you have a disagreement, they shouldn't know the nitty gritties, because I can't remember who said it. I think it was in counseling where they spoke to us and told us about the fact that sometimes it's not good to go and share everything with, let's say, your family or your close friend, because they hold it as ammunition against your partner.
Yes.
Unlike, we might have a disagreement and we will make up, but they will only see the side that I painted and not the full picture. So it's
Mm-hmm.
important to understand that when you do go to consult family and friends about moments of disagreement, you take the problem and not necessarily the situation. So, therefore, if we're having a disagreement about how to raise a child, it shouldn't be a case of, this is what Belinda said we should do to raise our child. No, you should go and seek their opinion of, this is something that has been put forward or we are thinking about. Normally, it's a case of put it as we are thinking about, because it's not always your partner versus you. It's the solution that needs to be found between the two of you. So we are
Correct.
thinking about problem A.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the solution we have come up with. What do you guys think is best? And from there, they can give you their advice and then look at it from the perspective of, we are coming together with an idea, and this idea is probably not the best one. All right. Instead
Mm-hmm.
of it being, my wife thinks that this is what we should do with our child.
Mm-hmm.
Because then they might be like, ooh, that's a terrible idea, but they might never say it. And they'll just say, yeah, just go with it because that's what's best. And that's what you guys have decided. And
Mm-hmm.
in the back of their minds, they're thinking, the only reason our child is in this position is because his wife made this decision for him, or their partner made this decision for them. Same thing with friends. They might come to a conclusion and think that my friend is in this situation because of X person who made the decision for them, as opposed to them coming together. So make
Yes.
sure that when you do consult people outside of the marriage,
Mm-hmm.
it's making sure that there are the correct boundaries in place. And I think it's always frame it as we, as opposed to I versus she, or I versus them.
Oh, well explained there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
Wisdom us.
Okay. We see.
Thank you. I try.
And next question. Should you tell your partner everything?
Three,
You.
two,
Why are you looking at my cards?
one. Again, I did not
Oh,
expect this.
neither was. Okay.
Unexpected. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
You can expand.
Okay. So should you tell your partner everything? I would say no. Why? Because I've got friendships outside of the marriage. So if my friend tells me something that's happening and in her home, I don't need to come and share that with my husband. It doesn't add any value to his life, and he's got no reason to know, to be honest, because I've got this friendship with my friend. We've got a bond that we have. I don't need to come and air out her dirty laundry to my husband. It's not necessary. There are things that he doesn't have to know. And he's also got friends. They go out, play soccer. I don't need to know everything that they were talking about if it doesn't affect me in any way. Hence why I say, no, you don't have to tell your partner everything. But in not telling your partner everything, I guess we still maintain the idea of a hot relationship, like my husband alluded to earlier.
Honest, open, transparent.
Yes,
Acronym HOT.
yes, a hot relationship. I think it's Pastor Mike Todd who came up with that one. So, yeah, that's me done.
Now I need to expand on my question. I
On
mean, my answer
your.
rather. But I wanted to ask a question. That's where my brain was going with this.
Mhm.
So, with that said, where is the line for you to exclude information to your partner? So, in your case, when do you choose to exclude information, or how do you choose to exclude information?
Um, when it doesn't add anything or remove anything from your life. It's my friend's personal issue, and they've told me something in confidence. There's no reason to share with you because it doesn't affect our marriage, it doesn't affect you in any way. So there's no need to share. It's probably a friend is going through something, or it's a vulnerable moment they've shared with me, and there's no need to share that, I would say.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. Reason I say
You don't
interesting,
agree?
it's not so much I don't agree.
Yeah.
My answer is a no, but
Mm.
now I feel it should be a yes. Based upon your answer.
Okay.
Joking. I'm not,
Okay.
well, yes and no in the sense that I'm joking, but I'm not joking. There's an element of truth to this joke.
Okay.
I say no because I don't think it's necessary for me to come, like you highlighted. I go and play soccer with the gents. My single friend tells me his stories, and I come back and then I'm just dumping them on you. I don't think that's necessary because it's not
Mm-hmm.
going to add, like you said, it's not going to add or take away from our relationship
Mm-hmm.
or our marriage, grow it in any way or progress it in any way. So it makes sense. But at the same time, I think it's also necessary for there to be that level of transparency.
Okay.
Because I mean, if my friend says something that is a bit questionable and now it makes me have to question our friendship, now I guess that then kind of crosses the line of it being important for us to share and have a
Mm-hmm.
conversation about, because then that's a friendship now I have to also reassess, and it would affect me,
Yes.
which would affect you in a way,
Mm-hmm.
because my temperament would change, and therefore you would notice it, and then it would affect us in the long run. Hence why I think that element of yes, I think we should tell everyone tell everyone everything. That's definitely not a great idea, but we should tell our partner everything, is because it goes back to that transparency thing. It's information I'm giving up, not because you've asked, but because it's just to make it in the open. But yes, the like smaller things I don't think are
Mm-hmm.
necessary. Like if someone had 3 pints of beer or had their 3 drinks instead of their two, and I'm like, babe, guess who had 3 drinks today instead of two? Like,
Yeah.
what? That's crazy. It's not gonna help anything. It's just more a case of judgment than it is anything else, really, just being judgmental.
So, question, babe. Sorry,
Mhm.
let me just interject there.
Hmm?
Have you changed your answer? You say yes, your partner should tell you everything.
It's a bit of both. I think it's a bit of both because I think there is a level of honesty that's required and a level of transparency that's required, like you highlighted. But
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, I think the real debate that would come from this is, where is the line of what is useful information and what isn't useful information? Because I know, like, if someone was to tell me something, I'd bring it up to you and I'd be like, this is the situation with, let's call him Randy, because, you know, Randy Orton. Let's call him Randy. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the situation with Randy. This is what he had to say to me. This is what he shared with me. in a moment of him being vulnerable. And what do you think of that? Because I know you'll give you'll give counsel and give a different perspective from what I would normally think, which is why we work well together as a couple, because we come together to become one, and therefore where your strengths lie normally is where my weaknesses are, and where my strengths lie is normally where your weaknesses are. So therefore you could bring a different perspective altogether. And I think from a Christian perspective, it helps come up with a more wholesome answer, because you interact with God on a different level than I do, and the Holy Spirit speaks differently to you as it does to me. So I think you get more of a wholesome answer, hence why I'm on the fence. So hence why it's a bit of a yes and a no.
Okay.
No.
So if I understand well what you've just explained, you saying yes, it's important to share with your partner if you want to use them as a sounding board.
Yes.
Yes, if there's going to be anything that you're going to take away. So if I'm going to add any value, like you using me as a soundboard, then there's reason to share, because you need someone to discuss this issue with then.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I get you. So yes and no.
It's actually flipped to a yes. Or was
Okay. It was a yeah. Yes.
I can't even remember what my answer is
It
at
was
this
a
point.
yes. It was a yes.
Okay, so then yes. So then the answer is yes.
Yeah.
I think we should. We
Still
should
an
share.
interesting one, guys. Please do feel free to share in the comment section. I don't know why I was doing this, but yeah, that's where it will be.
That is where the comment section is.
Yeah. What you think about this? Should you share everything with your partner?
On to the next one.
Yep, you've lost count, right? You're not giving them numbers.
This is number 5.
Is it? Let's see. Okay. Can you have friends of the opposite sex?
3,
Wait, I need to think.
Bruh.
Joking.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay.
Bada bam bam.
All right. Yes. Why is your answer no, babe?
Why is my answer no?
Yeah.
My answer is no because it's complicated. That's the honest truth.
How is it complicated, boss?
So I say no because I think, given the current season I'm in and my understanding of what friendship is currently, my answer is a no. But only purely because my definition of a friendship is the ability to have an exchange with another person, so it's basically having an exchange with another human being who I have a liking to, and we have an emotional connection as a result of that exchange. All right. So I cannot be friends with someone I do not like. One. And then I cannot be friends with someone who I cannot share with. That's how I would define a friendship. So I can be acquainted to someone in the sense that I can know them and we can have a exchange, but it goes no further than that because I don't necessarily have to like them for them to be acquainted.
For you to be acquainted.
For us to be acquainted, rather. Better English. For us to be acquainted. So that's why my answers are no. Because I think when you then have friends of the opposite sex, that's when we go back to that original point or first question of that transparency of the phone. Because if you were to pick up my phone and I'm talking to Sheila about cats and dogs on a regular basis, right? There has to be a point where Sheila or I will have a conversation that will slightly deviate from cats and dogs at some point, because like you said, the devil's always out to try and
Devour someone.
Yes, but I'm trying to find a better way to phrase it, in not necessarily to say that he's there to devour you, but in the sense that as soon as there's a chink in the armor, that's where he'll penetrate through. And I feel that if you are having that conversation outside of the space of the transparency of you being able to see it, it
Mm-hmm.
creates a chink in the armor, and therefore he can penetrate through that. Which is also not just to say the devil, but like even just temptation. The Bible teaches us when you see temptation, flee. It doesn't tell you to
Fight
try
or do
to
anything.
fight it, to do anything. No, it just tells you to
Yeah.
flee because the
Mm.
flesh and the spirit are
At odds.
against each other.
Mm-hmm.
They're at odds. And therefore, if you get to the point where the flesh is up against the spirit, normally the flesh will win because the spirit, depending on where you are spiritually,
Okay.
um, I mean, I guess normally the flesh would win, but if you're spiritually sound, you've got nothing to worry about. But we know that the Bible also teaches us that temptation, when it comes to a man, is a weakness. Like, even if your spirit is like, the warrior of warriors,
Yeah.
when it comes to that one, it might
Run.
falter.
Run, boss.
Um, so yeah, so that's why my answer is a no. And to elaborate further as to
Mm-hmm.
why I think within boundaries it can be possible.
Mm-hmm.
Because as much as I say no, I do have friends or people that I would call friends of the opposite sex. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I think those were like, which is actually quite funny because I think like to give an example would be the friendship I made through work,
Mm-hmm.
but that one purely existed in the work atmosphere. Outside of work, it wasn't a case of
Let's go
messaging
hang.
each other or doing this, that, and the other. And if even if we did meet up, it was a case of I would be like, "Oh, I'm going to meet such and such a person,"
Mm-hmm.
and you'd be like, "Nah, that's cool. Go meet such and such a person. Meet in a public space." And most of the time, the conversation would revolve around the work
Work.
environment or matters that were not too personal to our lives, to make sure that there was, I guess, some form of boundary as to the conversation and how it's steered and how we
Mm-hmm.
stay. So, like with Sheila, we'd stay on cats and dogs instead of deviating. But I think that one was a
Okay.
little bit easier because we're both of the same faith and we understand.
Yes.
And they're more mature than I am as well.
Yes, and they married as well.
Yeah,
Yeah. So if I understood you well, you basically saying that having a friend or friends of the opposite sex, it's like opening up a door. Is that what you're saying? So this is safeguarding yourself and the marriage by not having friends per se, but just being acquainted. Because if you become friends, when you're friends, like you explained, that a friend is someone that you've taken a liking towards, and you share things that are personal and intimate, if I can say. So you're basically saying that friends, not really, it opens up a door. Is that what you're saying, babe?
it can. It can if the
Mm,
boundaries are not managed.
okay. So you still stand with no.
I still stand with no.
Okay.
It's more of a yes and no situation. But I think I'm gonna lean with no
Okay.
to highlight that aspect of it.
Okay. So to explain my answer, I would say yes, it's okay to have friends of the opposite sex, and just to feed off from your answer, the fact that there has to be boundaries. So in as much as I can have a friend of the opposite sex, there has to be boundaries, and also make an effort to make that friend a friend to your partner as well, such that it's not just the two of you that are friends, like me and a male somebody, just the two of us. Introduce that male friend to your partner so that they also establish a relationship, and if possible, they become more of the friends. That's what usually happens, to be honest. So I still stand with my answer to say yes, but it just has to be managed well. And yeah, it just has to be managed well. It's okay, but it has to be managed well. And I also think that in as much as this is something you can agree on, say at the beginning, at the beginning of the marriage or the relationship, it's not set in stone. You can always go back to your partner and say, hey, this is making me uncomfortable. There should always be an open door policy when it comes to marriage, relationships, and discussing these issues. You can't then hold it against your partner to say that, no, you said yes, so now you can't say no. You're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to say to your partner, this friendship is making me uncomfortable, or I don't understand this. So, yeah.
And I think you've highlighted something that is very important.
Mm-hmm.
Where did that little insect come? Something that's very important, which is the fact that I think it's making sure that they're introduced to your partner. And like, I know, like, you have one of your good friends
Mm-hmm.
is someone who I met and I grew to like as well.
Mm-hmm.
As a result, he's our friend and not just necessarily your friend as well. So I think that's an important element and aspect to it, which does help, which would maybe convert me to a yes. No, I'm joking. Which in that regard would be
Yeah.
the yes and no portion, where the yes
Yeah.
would come in the sense that yes, you can have friends of the opposite sex, as long as they're introduced to the relationship and they understand the dynamic of the relationship, and you also know where they're coming from, how they exist, and kind of their values and principles in life.
Mm-hmm.
Then yes. But I think just as a safety, I'm one of those people who always errs on the side of caution. So my answer is still going to be a no,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of, I think, how I've approached a lot of the female friendships I've had since we got married, really, if we
Mm-hmm.
think about it.
Yes. And sorry, just to interject there,
Yeah.
this just came to my mind right now. Like, we haven't sought out friendships of the opposite sex. These are friends that existed before we got married. Huh.
Yeah. So that's also why my answer is a bit of a no, because at the same time, like, I don't think I've ever gone out to find new friends of the
Of the
opposite
opposite
sex.
sex.
Yeah.
So,
Like, it's
uh-huh.
never been a thing. Like, even like
Yeah.
now, as we relocated to the Czech Republic,
Mm-hmm.
I reconnected with a friend from previous employment opportunities
Mm-hmm.
who's here in the Czech Republic.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, it wasn't like I was seeking out a new person. It was just a person
Mm-hmm.
in the field I was working in, someone who's already doing what I'm trying to do. And therefore, they were more of a guide. So, yes, it is a
Mm-hmm.
friendship, but the friendship is tied to the fact that um, we are operating in the same space. Hence why I
Yes.
always relate mine to work, because it's never a case of I just go and I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to have drinks with this
Coffee.
person. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and maybe it's just me making an excuse for it, but it does make sense to me because I've always related it to the season I'm in. It's not just a
Mm-hmm.
random friendship that I do like
Yeah.
on a professional basis, not necessarily.
Huh. Like, I'm having a light bulb moment. I think now that we've spoken about it, I would say yes, you can have friends of the opposite sex if you had them before you're married and now you're integrating them into the marriage. But I don't think it's wise to seek out friends of the opposite sex when you're married because it's basically just blending them, integrating them into the marriage. You're not disposing them like, I'm married now, bye. No, you've just integrated your friends when you're single into the marriage and not necessarily seeking out new friendships of the opposite sex because I don't think it actually makes sense. Like, in this current season of our lives, yes, we are open to friendships, but for me to be seeking out friendship with someone of the opposite sex, interesting.
And I think even more controversial,
Yeah.
I think you should weed out your friendships once you get married of the opposite sex.
Okay.
I say weed out because there are
Mhm.
some that are not going to be fruitful.
I agree. This is a very interesting topic.
This is a good
Yeah.
one for you guys to comment down below what your thoughts are, because I think it is a very interesting conversation to have as to whether you can have friends of the opposite sex,
Mm-hmm.
and where do the boundaries begin, where do the boundaries end if you do choose to have friends of the opposite sex.
Mm-hmm.
As you've highlighted, do you create new ones
Or you
or do you
integrate.
integrate the old ones?
Yeah.
Of the old ones, do you weed out? Do you not weed out? Which are all very interesting aspects to consider. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it's important to hear what other people's opinion is on this one specifically. Because I mean,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, the Bible teaches us to guard our hearts.
Yes.
And it's from the heart that sin comes from. So you have to be alert yourself to certain emotions and feelings you might have towards the opposite sex, friends of the opposite sex. But at the same time, yeah, it's a very interesting one. I'd have to do some Bible
And
research on this one.
and with the weeding out of other friends of the opposite sex, I think we can then even talk about the fact that you've had your friends of the opposite sex when you were single. Now you married, and your partner isn't comfortable with these friends of the opposite sex. Does that mean you drop them? This can actually be another. It was.
Simple answers. Drop them, gents. If you've got friends of the opposite sex and your partner's uncomfortable, drop them.
Yes.
Do you know why?
If you like peace.
This is the only person who
Uh,
matters in your life. Okay.
yes. You leave your family to cleave onto your partner. But anyway, we're not going on a tangent. We've got another question.
Oh, we still have one more.
Yes. Um, should you confess your past sins to your spouse even if you've been forgiven by God?
3,
Oh, by the way, we have to raise up our cards. Sorry. Mhm.
2, 1, go.
Sorry.
Oh wait, no, my bad. that was the wrong answer. There we go.
Okay. All right. Yes, you can take us through, babe.
I say yes because it's just that thing of transparency again. The Bible teaches us that we should be bare to our partner. We should come as we would. We should go to our partner as we would to God, which is to bear all sins and make sure that we are accepting of the fact that we are washed clean by the
By the
blood of
blood.
Jesus Christ. And I think it's important that when you walk into marriage, that you walk into marriage having given a true testament of your life and not just the highlights, so that your partner knows what they're walking into, knows who you are. Because again, these things will pop up down the line. It'll be a conversation. You bump into someone and they're like, "Hey," give you a hug that's a little bit too friendly. And like, "Hey, whoa, what's going on here?" You know what I mean? And that's just talking about obviously people of the opposite sex, but like just in general, like even if you have, I think, a criminal past, it's important to let somebody know that you're a
Once
criminal.
arrested.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, yeah, I think that's it, that it just goes back down to transparency more than anything else. I think it's important.
Yeah, I do agree with you, babe, because I wouldn't say everyone, but most people, ourselves included, have a past. So I think it's very important to tell your partner about your past so that they're not shocked. Say he's gone for a soccer game and then someone tells him, this happened. It's like opening up a can of worms. It's as if you were hiding something, and this can cause friction in a marriage. So I think it's very important during that dating stage to just state or declare all your luggage.
Yeah.
Everyone declared
Yeah.
what they had in their suitcase.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think it's important. It's very important because, yes, it may be your past and you not that person anymore, or you've been forgiven by the Lord, you've confessed. But I think you owe it to your partner to tell them that this and that happened so that they're not shocked.
Make sure you declare your baggage to Zimra,
Mhm.
just in case Zimra comes back and tells you that we've already known that you had these
We're
items in
waiting
your
for
bag.
you to come and declare.
Clear. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
fine.
yeah. So just make sure you from the get go get it
Yeah.
out of the way. Yeah. And I think that's pretty much all the questions we have, isn't it?
Let me see. Yeah, that's everything. We have covered all the questions that we had. And guys, please feel free to engage, comment, and share your thoughts and opinions because our word is not gospel. So please share your opinions and your perspectives.
And we're still babies in marriage years, so some of these
Yeah.
answers we haven't quite figured out. We haven't walked through the different seasons that some of you might have
Mm-hmm.
as more mature audiences,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of marriage, not necessarily in age. I know every time I say that, people think, "Oh, he's talking about old people." No, like you could be married, you could have got married. Like I think my closest friend, he's a lot older than we are in marriage years. So he's a year older than us, so he's experienced a little bit more than we have.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so if you can give us any insights in the comment section down below, your opinions as well, because
Mm-hmm.
that would be very helpful for us as well, and anyone who's also looking to embark on this journey or is at the very beginning of this journey. So yeah, so do please engage with the content down below
Yeah.
by giving your opinion.
And I also think that the questions we covered, it's not just for married people, to be honest. You can start putting these things in place before you get married. And if you're in a season where you're preparing for marriage, please do feel free to watch our video that we spoke about the things that we had to go through or unpack before we got married. And with that, guys, thank you very much for watching the video. See you in the next one.